Hello and welcome to Strive AI tutorial on some of our latest running features. So when we started to develop the Garmin Connect integration, one of the principal focus areas was for runners. And so we've had probably about 50 running athletes testing the software. In addition, we recruited a few high school track athletes from the Bay Area to use the software and run with stride power meters to get a sense of how does somebody perceive the software and how it's usable, and do the insights make sense and whatnot. So we've made some changes as a result of some of that feedback, and we continue to make more, but I wanted to kind of walk you through just a quick run through of some of the changes we've done to date. So let me drill in from the feed onto one of our athletes' track workouts and cover the first substantive change. So essentially the biggest feedback we receive is, the peak threshold idea seemed very much aligned with the with what cyclists are accustomed to doing, right? They want to look at their best power or best heart rate over a time dimension, right? So first we started with the 1, 5, 20, and 60. Then we added more to get more data points of your performance. And one of the bits of feedback was, what if we also kept track of your peak heart rate, peak pace, and peak power over distances that you might be running, right? And particularly for the track athlete, that was very appealing because they are very focused on a certain distance. Let's say they're an 800-meter runner or a mile runner or a 2-mile runner. They really want to know, not what their best peak is over time, but their best peak over the distance that they're a specialist in. So that's where this new user experience came from. So we've greatly simplified the display for runners when you're looking at your peak thresholds, because we now organize them all by distance, right, for each best effort distance. So in this case, she was doing a pretty intense track workout, probably some repeats. I'm not exactly sure if she was doing repeats or just trying to do a couple miles, but so she covered 400 meters, 800 meters, and and probably a mile, maybe just shy of a second mile. And what you're looking at here is the new display. So we have the distance, what the peak heart rate was for that distance, what the peak pace was for that distance, and the peak watts per kilogram. She trains with the stride power meter. And then you get a trophy indication if you've set a personal best over the last 8 weeks, or the top 3, first, second, or third. And so in this case, she didn't set any personal bests on heart rate or pace, but she did on her run power, right? So interesting way to view it. I think it greatly simplifies the view. You don't have like a list of, 20 different time thresholds that you might have peaks for. And it's all about really what are the peaks pertaining to your distance that you like to run. And then, if you drill in, what you see is the factors related to that pace, right? So we made the first drill in, instead of it going to the threshold for power or for heart rate, since you're clicking on a 400 meter or an 800 meter, whatever the distance is, it's really going to focus on factors influencing that pace, right? So for runners, pace is a much more interesting thing to look at, right? Because you want to know how to go faster, right? It's sort of interesting to look at how to generate more power, but much more interesting to how to figure out how to go faster. So what you're looking at here is these are the standard Strava variables that we have if you haven't turned on Garmin Connect. And then if you turn on Garmin Connect and you use a stride power meter like she does, you get different variables that are related to strides, running efficiency, or running mechanics variables, right? So very interesting to see that, for running 400 meters, the most material variable is the ground contact time, and it's a negative variable. So a higher ground time leads to a slower 400 meter pace. Second and third most important are cadence and power. which obviously are going to help you go faster, right? So if you're able to increase your power, increase your cadence, and reduce your ground contact time, you're going to improve your 400-meter pace, which is a great way of looking at how to use Strive AI to enhance your performance, right? It's directly related to speed for a runner. Now, if I scroll back out, or maybe I'll just click over on peaks, right, and show the kind of the opposite of this is when we're looking at your peaks, which are all organized by time, right? So this is her 5-minute run power, 3.3 watts per kilogram is her current peak, and in order to generate more power, the most material variable is pace, right? So running faster generates more power. Big surprise there, huh? Another one that's very interesting is vertical oscillation, right? So a higher vertical oscillation yields more power. But what's interesting is that's probably not going to result in a faster pace, right? It's just generating more power, or you're having to run at a higher power in order to match your pace. So, again, it goes back to what's the best way to look at it. For runners, it's often more important to look at pace than it is to look at raw power, because sometimes raw power is because you're running in an inefficient way or having a higher ground time, or even running up a hill, similar things like that. So just wanted you to see that distinction. And then I'll take you back over to feed. Another thing that we've had for some time that is of interest, right? If you have a power meter and you're running on Strava segments, then you'll get stack ranked your own personal achievements and against others for your highest watts per kilogram on that segment. So, we've had that for some time. It hasn't changed, but I just wanted to revisit it, make sure people are aware of it. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.